bring in Bob Harig. He's there at the Open Championship, Sports Illustrated golf writer and author of the book, Tiger and Phil, Golf's Most Fascinating Rivalry, released in April. How would you describe the scene this morning when Tiger took the microphone in front of the media?
Hey, Dan. Yeah, well, it's always a interesting scene. People are keen to hear what Tiger has to say, and we see him so little these days, given the injuries that he suffered and the small amount of golf that he's playing. So there was a lot to get to. I think we wanted to know about his health and why he's able to have been practiced so much here this week. And obviously, there's a lot of other issues in the game that he touched on quite a bit. I think a lot more than we anticipated.
How many of these interviews happen without the question of the LIV Tour coming up?
Almost zero now, especially among especially among the prominent players. It's just been such a big topic in the game. It's been disruptive to the game. We've got so many named players that have gone. And there's a bunch of them here, obviously, playing in the Open this week that are eligible, and it's caused some awkwardness, frankly. Tiger was pretty strong about it today. There's some guys who are very upset that these players have made this decision, and we really don't quite know where this is all going to go.
Greg Norman was not invited. He's won the Open Championship twice. No matter what you think of the LIV Tour, was it fair to not invite a former champion?
To me, no. I think they made it worse by doing that. They called more attention to it. They put out a statement on Saturday, which caused us all to write about it. Norman knew for at least a week that he hadn't been invited, and I don't think he was out there making a big deal out of it. And had Greg been here this week, he would have probably taken part in that Champions event on Monday that Tiger was in, Lee Trevino, a lot of the past champions. I don't think Greg was going to go out of his way to be disruptive or do anything that was going to distract from the Open. He did win it twice. He could have attended the Champions dinner tonight had he so chosen. Now, I mean, in their defense, Norman did take a chance, pass on a chance in 2015 to play his final Open here at St. Andrews. He was 60 then. 60 is the age limit, and chose not to take part in the Champions event. So, maybe some of it stems from that too, but they could have invited him and let it be his decision.
How does it work when they pick? Do they pick who they're going to put in front of the media? Therefore, if they don't want to give Bryson DeChambeau or Dustin Johnson or Patrick Reed the opportunity to be on stage, is it done that way that it's, we're going to pick the top players and they decided not to include the LIV Tour?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, there's a pretty obvious list of guys that we'd like to get in here. Obviously the defending champion Morikawa, Scheffler won the Masters, Justin Thomas won the PGA, Matt Fitzpatrick won the US Open. You'd like to have them. You'd maybe like to have some past champions of the Open. Dustin Johnson would have qualified. Phil Mickelson would have qualified, certainly. I mean, last year, Phil Mickelson won the PGA Championship, and he's almost not been discussed this week. I don't think it was a coincidence that none of the LIV guys were invited in. I mean, Louis Oosthuizen, who won the Open here in 2010 and lost in a playoff here in 2015. So the last two Opens here, he was very much part of the story. Was second at two majors last year and third at another. He might be a guy we'd want to talk to, but he's part of the LIV Tour, and they chose not to bring him in.
Has Phil been around? I mean, is he being Phil Mickelson? Thumbs up and all of that?
Yeah, Phil's been out there practicing, but staying very much in the background. He elected not to be part of that Champions event on Monday, and it's my understanding he's not going to the Champions dinner tonight. That kind of tells you where we are, I think. I mean, before all this, Phil is a beloved figure in the game, 30-year history.
Yeah.
And now he's sort of, taking himself out of these things, and he's obviously gotten a lot of criticism. It's just a strange place we find ourselves in golf right now.
How do things play out this week, Bob?
Good question. I think a lot of it depends on the weather. The old course, St. Andrews, lots of fears that it just has not withstood the test of time, or that it won't. And it's so weather dependent. Not had any rain. It's very firm, very dry. It's been windy. If it continues to be windy, then I think it gets really interesting. Because, a guy like Scheffler never played here before this week. Justin Thomas has never played in the Open here. Matt Fitzpatrick says the course doesn't really suit him. It just brings in so much doubt when you don't know how far the ball is going to run on hard greens and hard ground, and when the wind blows. If it's calm, Tony Finau said, I can hit a wedge to every par 4. I'm not sure we really want that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the weather plays out. And I think a lot of guys have a great chance this week. Rory's guy you mentioned earlier. I think we're all looking to see how he might fare.
I was telling the audience that the 17th tee box, and you got a hotel in front of you.
Right.
I've had trees in front of me, and I've had water in front of me. Not many times you have a hotel in front of you, and I know that it doesn't affect the pros. But if you're an amateur and you're on that tee box, what were your thoughts the first time you played it and you tried to hit it over the corner of that hotel?
If you designed a hole like that today, you'd be vilified. I mean, it just wouldn't happen. I mean, you'd get scorched for even suggesting it. And you say it doesn't affect the pros. I was watching the practice round on Sunday with Tiger and JT, and Justin Thomas hit it into the hotel. he in fact, when he hit the tee shot, he screamed out, "Hit a window." He was mad at himself, obviously, and it landed like in a little patio area of the hotel. So it's in play. I mean, it was OB, but you can hit it over there. There's that old railway shed that says Old Course Hotel, and everybody says you aim over the O in the word course. And it's disconcerting. I watched Lee Trevino yesterday, took it right over that thing, 82 years old.
Wow.
For an amateur, your instinct is going to be to try to go to the left of it. But if you do that, you're in terrible rough and you're not playing the line of the hole. It's intimidating.
Do we know what the offer was from the LIV Tour to Tiger?
I've seen this number out there, $1 billion. I tend to think that's probably not accurate. But if Phil was getting $200 million, well, Tiger's got to be more than that.
At least $500 million.
You would think, and Tiger, twice Tiger turned down the opportunity to play in the Saudi International Tournament, at the time a European Tour event. Because, you could certainly make the argument Tiger couldn't do this anyway at this stage of his career. He's playing 3 events this year. They have 8. They want to go to 14 next year. You're required to play them all. Now maybe they'd make some dispensation for him, but Tiger isn't going to be able to do that. But I do sort of believe him when he says that it just wasn't for him. He doesn't believe in it. He was very strong in his comments today.
I'll leave you with this. The LIV Tour is going to be in New Jersey coming up, and that's Bedminster. That's Donald Trump's course.
Correct.
There are a lot of people who lost people, friends, family, loved ones in 9/11. And being in Jersey with the Saudi-backed tour, do you think the protest are you going to cover that event?
I am. I've been to the first 2, actually.
Okay.
There was some protests in Portland as well. Listen, Bedminster has the potential to be volatile. There's potential to be a lot of noise outside of the golf. You mentioned the 9/11 connection. There's also the Trump connection. The people that support Trump and a lot of people involved on his side of things are firmly behind LIV. Trump's been very critical of the PGA Tour recently. He's not happy that they took a course tournament away from his course at Doral a few years ago, even though I would argue it had nothing to do with him. It had to do with losing a sponsor. But so you've got those people who are very, very firmly behind LIV, A lot of people are. There's a lot of people that support it and see the good in it and see positives. And then, of course, there's a lot of negatives, not just based on where the funding's coming from, but because, as Tiger mentioned today, by the way, the Saudi thing never came up today. Tiger mentioned turning your back on the PGA Tour, guaranteed money. Why would you keep trying hard? What about losing your spot in the majors? But there's so many aspects to this, and it's very polarizing.
Bob, thank you, and have fun this week.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Bob Harig, Sports Illustrated golf writer, author of the book Tiger and Phil, Golf's Most Fascinating Rivalry, released in April.